Good evening. It's 7 o'clock and I'd like to call the Select Board meeting for the town of Sheffield to order for the evening of October 20th, 2025, and to announce that we're being recorded and this is, I actually believe, going live tonight onto CTSB. I would begin with our first item on the agenda, but an approval of meeting minutes. We have none to approve this week, so I think we can move on to our second one, which is a public hearing. Verizon has an application for the installation of some underground conduits and intersection on Bow Wow and Lime Kiln Roads. Have you had a chance to look at this in your agenda? Mm-hmm. Any thoughts or comments?
Do you want Verizon to present it?
Yes.
Good evening, Ilana with Verizon. Did you all get the map? Mm-hmm. Okay. So essentially what's happening is they're bringing power down from Egremont into Sheffield, and it's going to connect up with the pole T6 that you see there, and it's going to come across the line, start at Handhole, which is going to be new, and then it's going to run down the length down the side of Bow Wow Road. And it's going to hook up with the pole, and from there it can be distributed.
Any questions about this?
No, it looks pretty straightforward.
It's a double line of poles, right? It looks like.
Come again?
Is it it's double poles?
No.
No.
T6 is not, it's not going to be a double. Actually, there's no poles involved except for that one.
The one? Okay. Patrick, any?
No, nothing for me.
Pardon?
Public comment?
Yeah, any comments in the room? That said, would anyone like to make a motion to accept this?
I'll make a motion to accept the Verizon installation of underground conduits at Bow Wow and Lime Kiln Roads.
Second.
Any further discussion or any discussion? That sounds like not really. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we have a presentation by Unitil regarding the acquisition of Aquarian Water Company. How are you doing? Great. If you could introduce yourself up there, that would be great.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Alec O'Mara. I am the Director of External Affairs at Unitil. With me today is a whole bunch of folks. We came prepared. We have Ariana McNeil and Joe Keneally from Unitil. Ariana is a Municipal and Community Service Executive. Joe is managing the transition efforts here related to Aquarian. And we have Peter Pasek and John Walsh from Aquarian as well. And they're here to potentially answer any questions you might have about any local operations or things going on right now. The reason we're here is because Unitil, which is a gas and electric utility that operates in New England, has recently announced plans to purchase the Aquarian operations in Massachusetts and New Hampshire, which includes the operations here in Sheffield. We're making an effort to introduce ourselves to all of the new communities that we might be potentially serving, and saying if you would like us to come by and say hello and tell you about ourselves, that's what we're doing, and that's why we're here tonight. So I just have a quick rundown of a couple things about what Unitil is. If you're not familiar with us, I wouldn't be surprised by that, but we're going to try and fix that here this evening, and then hopefully answer any questions you might have about what's going on with this transaction. So if you look at the first page here in what I handed you, this shows what Unitil's current operational footprint is right now. We have about 100,000 electric customers and 100,000 natural gas customers. Those are spread through Massachusetts, New Hampshire, and Maine. In New Hampshire and Massachusetts, that's where our electric operations are. We have about 30,000 customers in the Fitchburg area of electric. We serve 4 communities there. We have about 14,000 altogether with natural gas in Massachusetts. The rest of our electric operations are in 2 different parts of New Hampshire. Our headquarters is in Hampton, New Hampshire. That's the center of everything we're doing. That's about 3 hours drive from here, give or take a little bit. And then we provide natural gas exclusively in Maine. We go right up the coast there. We serve the greater Portland area, the greater Bangor area, and the Lewiston Auburn area as well. Like I said, we're about 100,000 electric, 100,000 gas. That puts us on the smaller side for utilities, generally speaking. Oftentimes, you'll hear a utility refer to themselves, they have something in the neighborhood of, X million customers. We're on the lower end of that. So that's what we are. Who we are is on the next. We have operated at a high degree of customer service. That's been our calling cards, certainly of late. We have a 90% customer satisfaction rating in an independent survey last year. That put us first out of 8 in the Northeast and first out of 23 eastern utilities. That's a tough area to be in the Northeast. Generally speaking, overall customer satisfaction is a little bit lower in the Northeast among utilities. That's for a couple reasons. Number one, we have some tough weather. That makes it harder to keep the lights on every now and then. So that's part of it. But also, of course, affordability. New England has some of the higher costs of service there are as well. So we take a lot of pride when on the national level looking at things regarding our customer service, being known for having friendly employees, being knowledgeable, being responsive. We really take pride in knowing that the services we provide our customers, there's an expectation that those are going to be available and they're going to remain affordable. And we really put a lot of time and effort into ensuring both of those things. If we were to go to the next slide, I use slide, but it's a piece of paper. It gives a little bit of an idea as to what this transaction is. Effectively, what is happening is Aquarian, which is a water company that operates in Connecticut, Massachusetts, and New Hampshire, as a whole is being purchased by a quasi-public authority within Connecticut. As part of that transaction, there are operations that occur here in Massachusetts and in New Hampshire as a quasi-state agency, not terribly interested in operating outside of the state. So there was an opportunity for us to step in and get involved, and that's what we've done. And we saw a lot of value in this. We saw a great opportunity. We think that there's a lot of similarities between the work we do right now, which are providing service that must be done safely, must be done reliably. It matches up with our existing footprint, and we feel like there's going to be a lot of great opportunity for us to be able to provide this service. And one of the key aspects of this agreement, as it has been drawn up, is that there is a 5-year transition period after the closing, which means that Aquarian will continue with operations and help us get our footing as we have this long runway so we can learn more about the water business as a whole. We understand what it takes to be a regulated utility within these states that we're serving. Water is new to us, but we feel like we are in a good position and have good relationships with the local regulators, and we're excited about the opportunity to grow in this manner. So that's why we're here. Joe, did I miss any steps regarding the overall transition itself? And very good. There's still a lot of regulatory approval that needs to happen. Because we operate in 3 states, all 3 of those regulatory bodies do get to weigh in, and of course Connecticut is involved as well. I believe at this moment New Hampshire has approved, but we're still waiting approval in Massachusetts, in Maine, and in Connecticut. Anybody have any questions?
Either of you? Not really. I think you covered most of it. I don't know anything about Unitil, so.
Well, you know a little bit more now.
Now we know a little bit, yes.
So in looking at your map, I mean, you certainly work all over the map around 3 states, but it's a little hard not to notice we're off in this far corner. And does that pose any challenges for you, do you think, in the long run in terms of managing services down in this area, or how would that work?
Well, I mean, part of what we have as part of this agreement is, like I said, that 5-year period to exactly sort out stuff like that. I mean, one of the things that we see about our footprint overall, I mean, it's probably about, I'd say, about an hour and a half, 2 hours from our Lunenburg operations, but figuring out what we'll need to have locally to ensure the service continues the way it does, that's going to be an important part of this for sure. But maintaining that local service is crucial and a big part of what we believe in. So a little bit of background, I didn't fully introduce myself. As part of external affairs, what my team at Unitil does is we manage all the individual relationships we have with our local municipalities. We try and serve as a go-between. If a Board of Selectmen has something specific that they need, or they're concerned about, or there's something relative to operations that we need to be telling you about, our team tries to manage that relationship and ensure that you guys are getting the information that you need. Ariana actually manages all of our relationships in the state of Massachusetts with the communities we're already serving and would be a key contact point for you guys. So, yes, it's a little further out, no denying that, but, you know, we don't serve a ton of communities. You know, it's still a handful overall, so we have a pretty good, you know, when I go to my parent-teacher conferences, they talk about the student-to-teacher ratio. We got a pretty good ratio. So, you know, we feel like we're going to be able to meet you and be responsive to your needs.
And do you expect our service here to ever expand at any, I mean, is there a goal of expansion on any level, or just?
I'm not
Maintain.
aware. I don't know if there's anything specific locally that's been in the works in terms of expanding the local system that I am unaware of, but.
No, there's nothing in the works.
Yep.
It's kind of-
Now, is this a long-term acquisition? Because we've gone from a private water company for many years to being bought and resold and bought and resold. So I was kind of wondering is this a long-term commitment by you, or is this just another step in buying and selling?
No, I would say that Unitil's overall philosophy, and I've been with Unitil now for 15 years, we see acquisitions as really inviting and becoming part of our organization as a whole. When we look at these things, we're looking at them in the long term. We don't do a ton of them. Prior to, we actually have done a couple within the past year, mostly in Maine with natural gas utilities. But generally speaking, we're in it for the long haul. We want to try and integrate this, and we're very excited about getting into water as a utility, and we see this as a stepping stone for us.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Thank you very much. We appreciate all of you coming here tonight.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next on our agenda is a review of the Mass DOT bridge inspection reports. I believe we have one from Kellogg Road and one from Lime Kiln Road. Have you had a chance to
Sure.
review them, Rhonda?
So I think we all know that the Kellogg Road Bridge is in desperate need of repair since it was closed, and we did that quick fix, if you want to call it. But the decking needs to be done. It is on Mass DOT's radar to start working on that. I think it'll probably take a couple years, but until then, we'll just keep patching the deck and try and keep the road open for as long as we can. The other one is Lime Kiln Road, which we've been working on with a Mass Works grant, a small bridge grant. So we have all of the engineering done. We thought we were all set, and then we had to change the design due to Mass DOT's comments. So we've worked on that, and Mass DOT has now come up with some funding of about $1.9 million to go towards the construction of a bridge. And they're asking the town to contribute $200,000 towards that. So the bridge report on that is not very good. The road is closed now, and we're hoping that that moves forward and we can get it open quicker than we originally thought.
And we're hoping to put forward that article for the bridge at the December 1st meeting
Correct.
of a special town meeting, right?
Okay.
Any thoughts or questions about the bridges from either of you?
Unless there's some from the public.
Anyone? No. We also have item number 6, an appointment announcement. Charles Cohn has put himself forward for constable, and we're just making an announcement of that, and we will talk about it again and appoint him in 2 weeks, right?
Yes, unless Mr. Cohen is present and would like to introduce himself.
Would you like to do so?
Be happy to. Hi, esteemed members of the Select Committee and Town Administrators. I'm Charles Cohen. I'm a local resident of Sheffield and a private investigator by training, and also an individual who's very keen to be involved in my local community, and I saw this as an opportunity to do that. I'm wish to introduce myself, and obviously I'm an open book if you have any questions. I do hope you select me if possible, and I appreciate your consideration.
We appreciate you stepping up. Thanks.
You know, we're always excited to have somebody step forward. And I think sometimes it's a little bit of a mystery what the constable position does in town, right?
Well, from what I understand from the general bylaws, it involves posting notices when asked to by the board.
Exactly. Well, we appreciate your offer, and we will be looking forward to working with you, hopefully.
Thank you so much.
So the appointment process is to announce at one meeting and then make the final appointment at their next meeting, which would be 2 weeks from today.
Understood. Thank you.
Nice
Thank
meeting
you.
you.
Thank you.
Actually, we'll be following up on that process in item number 7, which is the appointment of Rainey Markham to the Board of Health. We announced this 2 weeks ago, and I believe we have an opening on the Board of Health, so we're probably pretty excited to fill that. Would anyone like
I'll
to?
make a motion to appoint Rania Markham to the Board of Health.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great, that's exciting. And next, we have another appointment of trainers for the MBI funding grant. Renee Wood, Carlos Rivandinera, and Jessica Bangs, I believe, are going to be working as teachers on the program. I don't know if everyone's cognizant of the fact that we got a grant to help people with the digital equity, training people in terms of using their laptops, their phones, I think any electronic equipment.
Yes.
There's a program that these people will follow up on, or I think currently in the training board now, and then classes will be posted on the website at the
I'm
senior
sure we
center
will
of the
post them
library.
on the website. We'll have them here. We can even send them out as an email blast.
I know Renee mentioned that there would even be one around the holidays, I believe. And so if somebody gets a new iPhone or doesn't know how to use it, I think that you can come in and have somebody explain it to you, as long as it's not me. But we need to officially appoint them, right?
You know, because they're actually employees, even though the town's not paying them, the grant funding is paying them, but it's a requirement.
I'll make a motion that we appoint Renee Wood, Carlos, how was that pronounced?
Rivandinera? I don't know, I just said it fast
I
because I
shouldn't
wasn't quite sure.
have volunteered for this one. And Jessica Bangs, I like them simple, small
Yeah,
names.
I believe some of the classes will be in Spanish, and
Yes.
that's part of this too.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Number 9 is sort of our eternal item on our agenda, although we're closer and closer. As I think we mentioned at our last meeting, we now have plans from EMS for the town highway garage project, and we have a little bit of other information to share. We are setting a meeting for December 1st at a town meeting in which we will put forward an article on the funding for this. And in addition to that, at 6:30 before our 2 November Select Board meetings, we will begin our meetings early and have an question and answer session, or answer and question, depending on your mindset. Hoping that people will come in, look at the projects, ask us any questions or express any concerns they have before we go to town meeting. Should we want to talk the number at this point, or?
Sure.
So we're thinking that it's about
$7
$7 million, which sounds terrifying to all of us up here too, except for the fact that it's about 2.5 times less than the initial bill that we had for the Hewen Street project when we bought that land, and about $20 million less than a couple of other towns have recently spent on a town garage. the appropriations process and bidding process in the state doesn't really give us a lot of leeway in how we move these things. So costs that can seem high to us if we were building them at home aren't necessarily on the table in quite the same way, to say the least. Bob can weigh in on that probably more than anyone. He's quite excited having built a barn at home.
It's been challenging, learning the procurement rules and regulations that we have to follow to build. It's been pretty interesting, to say the least. If you look at it, almost anything in the breakdown, you'd think you could do it for about half the price, but given the way municipalities have to do their work, this is what we have to deal with, and this is as best we could do. We have worked at it, and we have chiseled and chiseled and chiseled as much as we can to get the price down. If you'd asked me 5 years ago when I got on the board, I never would have expected to be behind a project of this cost, but there's just no other alternatives. This is the best we could do to get the best return on investment, so.
And some other
That's
good
where we're
news is
at.
we moved into a temporary space in 1970, so hopefully no one has to revisit this for another 55 years. And I think we also hope that having some more enclosed storage is going to give our equipment longer life. So it's a little bit of an investment that we hope is actually protecting some other investments that we've been making.
Yes, even the investment in personnel, if you have a place where they can work and be comfortable and proud of their surroundings, it will make it easier, I hope, to maintain and keep good employees going forward. Right now, they work on I don't even know how to explain it, but it's a very small, cramped. We have a lot of nice equipment that we've just purchased that's sitting outside. They don't have room to maintenance anything. If they bring it into maintenance or do any repairs, it has to be out of there by the evening because there's no area to tie up to work on something. So it's, they're handicapped, to say the least, at this point. But
And
with
also-
this project, it should make it much more beneficial for the guys working
And safe.
and safe.
The other thing that we often forget about with the highway department is they're often working odd and long hours, particularly in winter storms and events like that. So a space where they can come back and refuel and recharge and be ready to go, and that they can guarantee that their equipment is being worked on in all conditions is probably key too.
Or when they get their trucks in there in the winter and have to climb out the window because they don't have enough room to open the door.
Well, I didn't know if you wanted us to mention that.
Yeah, but I don't think, yeah.
Now putting all the equipment in for a snowstorm, all the trucks with their plows and the loader and everything we need undercover is kind of a game of Pinterest. And if you've ever played Pinterest, you'd understand that everything has to go in a certain way and at a certain angle. And it's not a joke, but yes, they cannot open the doors sometimes to get out of the trucks. So it's interesting, to say the least.
Great. Patrick, any way in? Yeah. Item number 10 is a little bit of an announcement about trick-or-treating, which is on the 31st between 5 and 7 p.m. And then trunk or treat.
treat.
It's hard to say. I'm really struggling with things today, which I believe is on Saturday in town between 4 and 6 p.m.
November 1st.
November 1st, right. Please be careful and try to honor those hours too, right, in terms of trick-or-treating. Up next, we have a discussion regarding the Community Development Block Grant application. Last week at a working meeting, we actually met with some of our friends at the Berkshire Regional Planning Commission about applying for another block grant. Last time we used this primarily to make repairs on homes. This time we have some exciting news in that it looks like we can apply some of this to the possibility of the creation of some accessory dwelling units in town as well. And we're hoping in applying for this grant that we would get possibly 3 ADUs that could be created. ADUs are sort of like, I don't know why they don't just call them granny flats or something, or in-law apartments. I mean, the language, I think, makes them sound very abstract. But what they really are the idea that people could take properties that they have and create an additional rental space on their property. The state has recently passed this law, and we're hoping that will help provide some housing that's much needed in the area. I think we're asking for is about $800,000, and we won't know for a little while if we get that, but once we do, there will be an application process that we will remind people of here, most likely on the website and probably in the Sheffield Times as well.
Because you are going to include some housing rehabs along with the funds for ADUs,
Right.
so there'll be a little bit of both.
I can't remember the number that he thought we could possibly do, but it was reasonable. It's a really exciting way of keeping the housing stock in the area in best repair, particularly in moments where people don't necessarily have the resources to do that themselves. We will let you know more about that as that comes along. And that brings us to item number 12, which is board member items.
I'm good.
Nothing for me.
Can you guys at least tell us what you're dressing like for Halloween so we can be prepared?
I told you already. A farmer.
Oh, well, Bob, somehow I knew that.
Well, some people tell me I'm a scary guy all the time, so
I'd like
maybe
to,
I'll dress up as Mary Poppins.
I'd like to remind people that there's also online an EMS survey, I believe, on our town website. Emergency medical services in the area are doing a survey to have a deeper understanding of our needs and how they're being met. So I think the more we respond to that, probably the better, in terms of giving them that information about how to move forward. And with that, Rhonda, do you have anything?
I don't.
We are going to, at some point, move to executive session, but first, we won't be coming back out of that executive session. We would go to public comment. Any comments from the public? We could also announce that Renee was nicely honored last week by BRPC for all of her work in Sheffield, and it was a nice moment for Sheffield as well.
Kathy Orlando, first with my hat on as chair of the Housing Commission, just to say it's really fantastic the town is pursuing the funds for the granny flats, garage apartments, whatever anybody wants to call them that are now officially called ADUs. That's fantastic, as well as the rehab. I heard from a lot of people how important those are, so really, really exciting. Switching hats to my land trust hat, I'm wondering, with the work that's happening on the Lime Kiln Road Bridge, we had some representatives from the Department of Agricultural Resources out looking at some APRs, and we kind of had to run them around in different odd ways to get from one side of a farm to the other. And so one of the things that I was asking them was, were there resources that might be able to help, related to agriculture? And they said, well, because it's a town-owned road, the Department of Ag themselves didn't. And I said, well, there's also a farm there that a couple of the culverts, had over the last, since the 50s, collapsed, and that their drainage was not, wasn't possible. And I said, if there's something while they're working on replacing this bridge, is there something we might be able to do working on maybe a municipal vulnerability preparedness grant to be able to help get the town money also for doing any of these other things? And they said, that sounded like something that other communities, had been doing. So I just wanted to come and just kind of see if there's something, because my understanding is that land trusts and nonprofits can now help communities to make those applications and to take on some of that workload. So wanted to say that, if that's something the town might be interested in working on, since there's not as much traffic there while the road is closed, is there some way to be able to make use of this, both the timing and hopefully being able to get some additional funds coming into the community for things that are needed anyway. So just if anything that we could do, I'd be happy to.
Are you talking primarily related to culverts or something?
Yeah, there are two culverts that, at some point over, since the 50s, when the drainage was put in, had collapsed. And I know that the town has a long list of things that has to get done, so, culverts on a back dirt road is not something that kind of rises to the top, but it just seemed like with the fact that the road is closed and that the bridge is going to be replaced, and MDR saying, oh my gosh, this is really crazy, and then, them saying, this might be something that could help bring the town additional funds. It's not coming from, MDR, but because municipal vulnerability preparedness is really crucial, and culverts, especially on roads that are getting and are expected to get more flooding as we get more and more extreme weathers, it would probably be helpful for the road as well as for the farm. So, it seemed like it could be a good beneficial, joint, mutually beneficial kind of thing. So just wanted to kind of put a plug in.
Thank you for putting that on our radar.
You bet.
Any further public comments? That said, if there are not, I would make a motion that we move into executive session relating to litigation strategy with respect to host community agreements. And because we're in the act of working our way through this, all of this material would stay under the radar. I can't remember what the actual terms are, so I'm going to actually turn it around for what I should say.
Well, it could be detrimental to the outcome of the negotiations, and that we just received this information at
4:10 this
3:50,
afternoon, or
4:10, somewhere around there.
Yeah, we amended today
So we amended
because-
the agenda to put it on here.
We need a,
And then do we need a voice vote to move into executive session?
Bob Kilmer, aye.
Patrick Silk, aye.
Lee Nutella, aye. Thank you very much. The public portion of this meeting is adjourned.